Hey, what's going on? You degenerates of the lesser internet. I wanted to tell a little story. I'd actually filmed this about a week ago. I wanted to pop this up, but in the video I had included. I don't typically like to do this, but I included some details that I didn't feel comfortable sharing on the internet. As I do, I just threw it out there. So I'm kind of re-recording it to not include them. I kind of doxed some of my friends and family a wee bit. I didn't mean to, but out of respect for them, I'm just not going to include it. And then on top of that, the video was way too long. It was like 45 minutes of me blathering, which isn't normally a problem, but I'm trying to keep, these videos on this channel a little short. Anyway, I wanted to talk about the time. I don't know what I'm going to name the title. I have no idea what I'm going to name the title, but I wanted to talk about the time I met someone online and met up with them in real life. And this hasn't happened to me very often. I had an ex-girlfriend who I met online in an internet forum. And I remember everyone was, oh man, and that was wild and crazy. I had an ex-girlfriend who I met like in an internet forum, and we were kind of a thing. And she actually ended up paying. Maybe I'll tell that story another time. But long story short, she ended up paying. She dropped like $1,000. She mailed me $1,000 from. I live up here in the Seattle area. She mailed me like $1,000 cash from Georgia, and then I used it for a two-way plane ticket down there and back to pay for a hotel room and everything. We met up and all that good stuff. And I remember when I came back from the ordeal, a lot of my friends were like, oh, you could have gotten, it could have been a scam. It's like, a scam for what? This was about 15. Yeah, it was about 15-ish years ago. People were still weary with the internet, but man, I got like a lot of weird backlash from people. I understand people's concern, but like, oh, well, what if it was a dude? I've seen video chat with this woman live. Like, well, what if she had a penis? I've seen her fucking genitals. But what if? All these what ifs. It's like I've seen her genitals live in chat, as we were fucking sexting before and shit, and then when I came back, well, again with the scamming, well, what if she's trying to scam you? She literally sent me $1,000 cash to fuck her. If anyone was gonna be scamming anyone, it would be me, the one scamming her. I hope it was worth it. That time someone paid $1,000 for me to fuck them. And she's pretty good lay. Not gonna lie. Yeah, but then when I came back, I had one friend in particular that was like, well, what if it was a dude? It's like, I already fucked the shit out of her. I already met her. What do you mean, what if? It's not. Well, what if the deal was already done? They just couldn't let go of the idea that I met someone online and then met up with them in real life. They just couldn't, which, let's be honest, that a lot of hookups these days are done like that. People don't go out to the bar, especially like with COVID and the lockdowns and shit like that. Very important you include the lockdowns. A lot of people are like, oh, COVID, post-COVID world. You mean the post-lockdown world. There's a big difference. Anyway, that's kind of like a political rant. But man, at the time of, people were freaking out. Again, this was 15 years ago. Not so much today. Today, if I met up with someone online and, to fuck, like, no one would give a shit. I mean, that's Tinder and what are all Grindr, and where are all the sites now? I don't know. I haven't been in that scene in a while, but yeah. that was a thing. And that was probably the first time I met up with someone online. But the situation there was different. This is a platonic relationship. This was a dude I met, and it wasn't sexual. I'm not gay. I'm not. No, this was a platonic relationship. I met this guy on the IGN forums. Interestingly enough, my lay that I was talking about, I met her on the official PlayStation forums. And you could probably figure out who it was if you go back to the official PlayStation forums, search up my fucking username is Turbo1984, and then just see some of the public chats and shit, you know, with certain people. You might be able to decipher who this person was. But yeah, they were a real person. I have no contact with them anymore. But since then, how long ago? This was about 5 years ago. Yeah, it was about 5 years ago. So I had migrated over to the IGN boards at the time. And this was, I've met many friends online since then. A lot of them, not a lot, because I don't have like tons of, I got like 3 online friends, I would say, that I would consider, you know, friends in real life. I talk to them on a regular basis online. I haven't met any of them online. And they're all cool dudes. They're all cool dudes. That used to be 4, but one of them I actually met in real life. So, and this is the story. So I met, you know, one of my online friends back on the IGN boards, and he was a pretty cool guy. He liked to rustle people's feathers, rustle their jimmies. You know, he wasn't a he slowly started to become more and more trolly. He used to have just outrageous opinions, and, you know, when you have I had outrageous opinions as well, and when you give opinions like that on the internet, you know, you're going to have a group of people who are just going to other you. These days, you know, in the 2020s, you know, that usually means, you know, something having to do with the political nature of everything. So he was othered by a lot of people, but a lot of people liked him. He was charismatic. I liked him. I thought he was cool. He liked to pick on people for, you know, being dorks. Just straight up, like, if you're a nerdy fucking mutant, he'll fucking say that shit to you. You know, he's kind of a bro when it comes to that stuff, but wild character. What was really cool is he made this, like, underground club. And I was part of that. Him and I kind of co-created it. He reached out to me first. And he was like, hey, I'm going to make, like, this club. It was all done in DMs. So it was all privated. It wasn't front-facing on the forum. And towards the end of the days there at IGN, it got to be about 25 strong. 25 of select individuals, prominent members on the boards. We had our own underground group, our own underground Illuminati. And back before some of us migrated off the site or got banned, in my case, we kind of ruled the IGN boards there for about a year or 2. We were highly influential. If there was someone I'm not saying it was all on the up and up, but if there was someone we didn't like, we would cast our seeds, and some of us would talk to moderators, and one of us was actually a moderator, and we were straight up like the IGN forums Illuminati. It was kind of crazy. We protected each other, and when someone would wrong one of us, we would all fucking, like, work our underground tendrils to fuck this guy over. We would, you know, if somebody, you know, flipped one of us shit in a thread, we would all come in from all, and our relationship was a secret too. That, like, this guy from the Xbox board, who was friends with this guy from the PlayStation board, who was like a prominent PlayStation, fanboy in that community. Like, you had no idea behind the scenes we're all talking with each other and, being friendly and stuff like that. So when we would brigade, our enemies, it seemed like it was coming from like a diverse group of people, and man, it was wild. It was wild. It was crazy. I'm kind of amazed how the whole thing was put together. But it started with him and me. I'm not going to say this person's name or anything like that, but he messaged me in the DMs. He said he was going to start this little group, and over time it just grew and grew and grew, and we could all invite people, but we had to be sure. There was like a screening process we did. It was crazy. So I got to know him pretty well during this whole thing. I got to know a lot of people pretty well. One of the people I mentioned before that I would consider, a good friend of mine, even though I've never seen him. He lives up in Canada. He's not going to send me $1,000 to come up there or nothing like that. But no, unfortunately, I don't think I'll probably ever meet him. I'd have no reason to go to Canada other than to see him, and he's got no reason to come down here in the United States, so we'll probably never meet. But if we were ever in the same area, we'd have a beer or something like that for sure. But one of the people, as I said, that I feel like I'm good friends with, even though I've never seen them, came from this group. Like he was someone who came into the group, and we became friends. Solid dude. Anyway, I'm trying to figure out where I'm going to go next with this story. So the guy I was friends with, we'll call him Mr. X. The guy who started this group. Mr. X was pretty cool. At the time I was like pretty close friends with him. I would probably consider him probably my closest, internet friend at the time. Got to know him pretty well, and I used to coach him on some personal problems. So, how do I say this? So, he used to come to me with a lot of his personal problems. And when I say personal problems, I mean problems with family and relationships and stuff like that. He, at the time, lived with his wife or girlfriend. First called her his wife, and I understand that because 10 years into my relationship with Stacy, I would I just started calling her my wife because everyone around me who had a girlfriend for more than 2 years, they all got married. Some of them are divorced now, but that's besides the point. Like, I literally had this girlfriend for over 10 years. Everybody would tell me, like, they consider us married. And it just felt weird calling her my girlfriend. So I started calling her my wife. I wasn't trying to, like, deceive anyone. He kind of had the same situation where he hooked up with some chick back when they were in high school. And, 10 years later, they're still together. So, I didn't really think too much of that. But that should have been red flag 1. Now, at this point of the story, if you don't know where I'm going with this, the actual encounter did not turn out the greatest. It could have been a lot worse, but it didn't turn out the greatest. My biggest regret wasn't meeting him or anything like that. My regret was, I don't know. I just don't know. I probably should have. He didn't turn out to be a psychopath. He didn't do anything crazy to me or Stacy. He didn't try to sleep with her. He didn't steal from us. But the whole ordeal just kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. And I don't talk to him anymore. But there were some red flags along the way. And this probably should have been the first one. But it wasn't. Because like I said, I did the same thing. When I talked about Stacy, I would say my wife. We're married now, of course. And so when I say my wife, I just mean my wife. Because it is what it is, but it felt the same. I could say with 100% hindsight and clarity that, after we were married, everything felt exactly the same as it did before. And marriage changes a lot of things in a lot of people. And there was a part of me that was like, you know what, things are pretty good between us. I don't really want to change that by getting married. And then, her and I came to the realization that, we are married. Even though we don't have a legal document, we are married. We considered ourselves, ours. We were married. So actually going through, putting a ring on the finger, which he already had, nothing changed. And I feel exactly the same as I did before. So, that being said, I understand, where he was coming from, but nonetheless, just some of the things he said, some of the wording was a little, I don't know. Like, he got weird when I asked him, like, when did they get married and where did they get married? Like, he got, like, weird with it. But eventually he came out to me, because, like I said, he would complain about his personal life and his relationship and things going on there. He would complain about it to me a lot, and I don't know, I probably should have been a little tougher with him. I kind of like to shelter. Growing up, like in my teenage years and my young adult years, like 90% of my friends were all younger than me. And I blame that on, like, the school cycle. Like, my birthday is, like, weirdly within, over the, where the break would be. So when I was going to school, I would always be, like, a year older than everyone. And so everyone in my class and stuff would be, like, about a year younger than me. So, like, 90% of my friends growing up and everything were all younger than me. And so I kind of took on this de facto role of, bodyguard and father figure, older brother figure, so to speak. And so a lot of them would come to me with problems. Like, if someone had a weird rash or something like that, and they didn't want to fucking, like, say anything to their parents or their friends, because their friends would laugh at them, I'd be the guy they'd come to. They'd be like, yo, Turbo, bro. My poop was black. What does that mean? It means you need to fucking ease up off the dildo, bro. No, so I've always had that role within my own personal friend space. And it's led to some weird and unwanted friendships. Like, a lot of people would, a lot of friends, and a lot of it's my fault too. I've had a lot of friends that kind of stopped becoming friends and started becoming, like, patients. And my background with, mental health and therapist stuff, like, that part of me comes out just wanting to help people. So this guy, I absolutely had one of these relationships with this friend in particular, maybe a little bit more so than normal, but I would coach him on, not a life coach, but I would give him therapy. I would tell him, look, man, this is a good idea, this is a bad idea. You could do this, but I would recommend doing this instead. Well, if that's, what you want and how you feel, just tell her, see where it goes. Because the alternative is you don't tell her, and then this happens, and then, Lord God forbid, she finds out, then you're going to have you're just best off, So I would tell him things and give him advice. And one time he came to me and he just spilt all the beans. All of the fucking beans. He told me that he's not married, that, he feels married, but he feels like just like locked into this relationship with this girl he met, when they were in high school. Not only that, but they have kids together. He revealed that he has not one, but 2 kids. And not only that, but they all live with his parents down in Texas. Texas! So he dropped this big bomb onto me, and I didn't judge him, and I was like, wow, okay. And he's like, don't tell anyone else, specifically, like, in our Illuminati group. So everybody else had no idea, who this guy was. To be honest, I didn't think it was that big of a deal. Like, I knew Mr. X as his, username. Just like, they all know me as Turbo. They don't know me as my first and last, the man. They don't know me as him, They know me as Turbo, the guy who will fucking flip you shit and, say what nobody else is fucking saying. Everybody else is afraid to. They know me as the guy that will step out there and get banned for saying what needs to be said. But they don't really know me as, Turbo, the therapist, the mentor, what have you. So he revealed all this stuff to me, and I didn't judge him. I wasn't mad. I mean, it's his life. It's his wife or girlfriend. It's his kids. It's his fucking parents. What the fuck am I going to get mad for? I don't give a shit if he lives with his parents or not, or if he lied and said that he didn't because he wanted to sound cooler. I mean, I've lied on the internet and in my videos about stuff. I just gave an example. I've been with my, wife, then girlfriend, for like a decade. And I felt weird just calling her girlfriend, so I just started calling her wife. And it felt natural, but let's be honest, when you get down to it, it was a lie, and I understand why people do that stuff. As much as I hate liars and stuff like that, I understand why people would do it. He wasn't trying to be malicious or anything like that. However, this was another big red flag for me. That he had like this weird secret life. I kept some things from the internet and the public view, like when I go online and I shit post or make videos on YouTube. There's certain things I don't fucking say. For instance, I don't divulge in personal politics between me and my family and my neighbors and stuff like that. Mostly to protect them, but it's just not something I really want to, put out there. And this guy, everything was this big fucking secret, when I first joined IGN and was posting there and everything, I was a teenager. I was a literal teenager living with my grandmother. And when I turned 18, I was still living there. And I felt bad that I was living there. And so eventually, when I got into my 20s, I started, when it was relevant, everyone was talking about, going to parties and drinking and going to work and coming home to their apartment and fucking their girlfriends. I made up some lies about having my own apartment. Like, fucking so sue me. Until I actually got an apartment. And then, like, the whole conversation just seemed not relevant anymore. It's like, who cares? I just say I come home. I assume people know what I mean. I don't know. But I didn't hold it against him, but just the sheer amount of fabrication and detail into his fabricated life there was it was staggering. I'm gonna do something quick. Hold on. Just unplug the phone real quick. I had a feeling I was going to get a phone call here while I'm filming. So that was red flag 2. It's just this big giant fucking, none of it at the time of, I didn't really care. I was just kind of like, whoa, I know how weirdly secretive you are. This probably took a lot for you to, come out and, say to someone. But yeah, so the cat had two kids. With his high school, high school sweetheart, and they were living with his parents. And I got the overall sense that he was having like this early midlife crisis. Like he just felt trapped, and he didn't want to be with her anymore, and he, made some mistakes, and then here he was. He was like 5 years older than me as well. So at the time of, he was like 35. I was just turning 30. But this 35-year-old dude who felt like he had wasted his life, and he's got these kids he honestly didn't want to take care of. And he's still living at home, and he just wanted to fucking break out, and he was fucking climbing the walls. I addressed that. I told him that's, it seems like, well, I didn't come out and say that. I was just asking him some preliminary questions to see how I felt and everything. But anyway, that's not really here or there. But that was red flag 2. We continued to talk. We were talking after IGN. The IGN thing kind of fell apart. He got banned. I got banned eventually. We're not part of there. A lot of people we don't even talk to or anything, except for a couple. I told him I don't have a cell phone because I wasn't a cell phone guy. Still not. So I got my home phone. When I say I had to unplug my phone, I literally meant I had to unplug the landline from my home phone. But yeah, I don't do the cell phone shit because I don't need my fucking ass fucking ringing every 2 seconds and people sending me pictures. I don't need to be plugged into that shit. Anyway, to move the story along a little bit, we stayed in contact. We exchanged numbers. He would call me on my home phone and everything, and we would talk, and we would just kind of move our friendship from the online space into the telephone space. We were talking. We were now like pen pals. We were talking on the phone. And it's not that different from my real life, best friend who moved out of state, and we still stay in contact, and we talk to each other all the time. So just last night, I talked to him for over an hour on the phone. We were just shooting the shit, talking about, because he knows a lot of my family, and I know a lot of his family. I don't see any of them anymore, and he doesn't see any of mine anymore, but just talking about, the state of things from like a decade ago. It's like, hey, remember when your brother fucking did this? And we talk still, shooting the shit. So it wasn't really that foreign or different for me to like talk to him. So things were going well, and I should have seen it before, but another red flag was everything was always somebody else's fault. Everything. When I'm trying to talk to him and coach him, personal responsibility was always, it was never on the table. He always struggled with maybe the concept of maybe he was the one that set things in motion, whether intentionally or unintentionally. He just didn't understand the concept of, hey, I might have fucking did this. Whether it was like, it's your fault, or just a mistake that he made that, created a ripple in a pond. Like, nothing was ever his fault. Everything was always somebody else's fault. That was another red flag to me. On top of that, I think he has some sort of undiagnosed Asperger's or Asperger's. I think he has some sort of undiagnosed Asperger's or autism because, for a number of reasons. Number one, he does exceedingly well online when you're not face-to-face. He, texting and, on the forums, he's quite charming and popular. Talking to him on the phone, he's this fucking dude, bro, who gets all the bitches and drinks all the drink, and, he wants to just fucking do some drugs, but, he's afraid he'll get caught. He would love to go to a state like, Washington, where, it's legal. I don't know what the laws are still down there in Texas, but probably not legal anymore. But, he's a big weed smoker. So, meeting him in person, so long story short, what had happened, he had this big falling out with his family. I don't even know if this is real. So, like, he found out his girlfriend was cheating on him. And the way he found out she was cheating on him was he was cheating on her. And then she found out and then revealed she was cheating on him. Now, I don't know if that's really how things were, or if that was just his version of what he said, but maybe she just found out he was cheating. That's a fact. He told me, he admitted that. I remember he was like seeing a couple of chicks behind her back. I was telling him, bro, don't do that. End it. And, he went into the whole, but the mother of my kids and all this shit. It's like, that's a douchey thing to do. Don't just fucking start fucking seeing other women like that. But anyway, nonetheless, it's a possibility, and I'm only throwing this out because of how he is, and, I've actually met him, and I know him, and nothing's ever his fault, and how he fucking acts. I could totally see, like, she fucking found out he's cheating, and then, to piss him off or something like that, say she was. It didn't take very long before she ran out and got another boyfriend. She found a couple, but they didn't want to like take care of her kids, their kids. So what happened is she moved out and took the kids, and he finally was in this situation where he doesn't have the kids, and she took off, and he didn't want to be there anymore with nothing holding him back, and so he fucking blasted out. He wanted to fucking leave. And he was talking to me about it, and he wanted to come up here, not just to see me, but he loves Seattle and the Seattle culture. He always wanted to be, up somewhere like Washington. He hates the hot weather down there in Texas. Weed's legal. I was telling him about that. He was all excited for that. Like, it really seemed like he really wanted to start his new life up here. And I told him I'd be able to help him out, but I told him I'd be able to help you out, but I made it very, 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 very clear that he could only stay with me for a certain amount of time, that he couldn't just come up here and just like live with me. So at the time I had talked to my manager. I told him, the whole story. I said, I got a friend that's coming up from Texas. He has no contacts up here. I said he's got a couple of job offers he's going to explore. The plan is for him to come up here for a couple of weeks, get a job, and then within his first paycheck, put that first paycheck down for first month's rent somewhere. He'll be up and out of here, out of everyone's hair in about 2 weeks. I said, what is the maximum that I'm allowed? Because I don't have friends and family coming up and staying with me in my apartment with me and my girlfriend and shit like that at the time. So, the way the rules work is they allow you to have certain amount of people there for a certain amount of time before they, legally, start charging you and coming after you with, dodging rent and having people stay with you that shouldn't and stuff. So I asked my manager, I gave him the situation. I said, what can we do here? What if he does stay with me? What is the maximum allowed time for me to use up all my days, weekends, and stuff like that? And he's like, you know what? He goes 3 weeks. I said, I'll let you legally have your friends staying up here with you for 3 weeks, but after that, no more. And I said, I said, at the end of the 3 weeks, if he doesn't have a job or anything, I'm kicking him out myself. I said, I will give you, you could come with me and everything. So I got the green light from my manager, and he came up, and everything was fine for a little bit. When he first came, okay, first of all, he had I don't know how much money he had. He had a couple of $1,000 in his bank, and he just fucking hit the road. On his way, he was driving cross country. He drove himself. He didn't take a plane or nothing. He drove all the way from Texas up to here, and then somewhere in Arizona, his car fucking broke down. Didn't know what was wrong with it, and it took him like $1,000 to get it fixed and roadworthy again. And he had to stay the night at some town, so he had to pay $200-$300 in motel fees, staying the night somewhere, and then on top of that, the car fixed, which took a little bit longer. So that drained half of his fucking paycheck. So by the time he came up here, he was even more strapped for cash than he was. He still had to pay for food and clothes and what the fuck ever, and gas money, because he's going to be driving to and fro. So he finally gets up here, and he was super awkward in person. Like I said, online and texts, even over the phone. He's pretty cool. In person, not so much. I feel like I put forth, as cool or as dorky as I am, I'm not fake at all. There's a lot of people who are completely different online than they are in person. one person in particular, one like prominent like internet personality, I'll shout out, is Greg Miller. I used to be a huge fan of Greg Miller. I thought he was funny. He was into video games. I followed him at IGN. I followed them when they left to go to Kinda Funny. But then after that, they kind of just lost their minds and went full on SJW and doing gross shit. And of course, the big giant backstabbing he did, to his friend, didn't sit well with me at all. But I had learned that everything there that you see is an act. That he flips a switch when the camera's on him and he acts like this character. But in real life, he's not like that at all. He's not very loud. He's very soft-spoken, timid even, and just a complete shell of what he portrays. I don't do that at all. What you see is what you get. Like, I'll make the raunchy jokes to your face. I don't really think I'm that bombastic on camera either. I like to think of myself as, a drinking buddy. Your drinking buddy. I'm not going to fucking hide who I am in person, but at the same time, I'm not really saying outrageous shit either. I just swear a lot. I'm trying not to swear. I'm trying not to swear as much, but it is what it is. This cat, though, Mr. X, completely different in person. He was super shy, he was awkward. He like autistically awkward, which is why I think he has some sort of undiagnosed social mental problem, because he does not act the same way in person. He's awkward, he's timid, he clams up, he's not as vocal at all, he never asks you any questions, he doesn't ask for anything, he just kind of exists there. And when you try to engage with him, he clams up no matter what it is. Whether you're trying to talk about a serious issue, or you just want his opinion on something, or you're just trying to shoot the shit, just completely clams up, and it's really weird and awkward. And I thought maybe it was me. I thought maybe he just felt uncomfortable. But, the first couple of days, I thought it was just, the honeymoon period. That honeymoon period never fucking left. It never fucking left. Except in one conversation. He got mad at me. Anyway, I'll tell you about that in a little bit. But he was super awkward. He got out of his car. I saw him for the first time. I was like, "Hey, bro, what's up?" And I came in there with a big ass hug, and he kind of was like, And like I said, I thought maybe it was a honeymoon period. He was a little awkward at first, but that never went away. Like a week into this thing, he was still asking me awkward questions like, "Hey, is it all right if I, go into the kitchen and get something to eat?" I told him, like, "Yeah, anything you want, just go in there and get it. It's fine." Like, you get the idea. He stopped joking around and having fun. Like, every time we spoke, it was this awkward interaction where he would, like, ask for something weird, or I'd ask him about something. There was a couple of incidences where, I just asked him if he had a bowl of cereal or something like that. One morning, I had, like, a bunch of cereal up there, and I was just craving one in particular, and I was like, I was all happy and shit going in there to have myself a bowl of cereal. And I kind of remember there was like just enough left for like one bowl. And I went in there and it was gone. Someone had eaten the rest of it. It wasn't me. It wasn't Stacy, because she don't like cereal. It was Mr. X, which is fine. I told him he could do it. I told him, eat whatever you want. Not a big deal at all. My memory isn't what it used to be, especially when it comes to like, where did I put the remote control? Where did I leave my shoes? Like, did I wash this shirt? Is this shirt clean or is it dirty? I gotta smell it. Like, I'm really fucking retarded when it comes to a lot of that shit. It's like, is there enough left did I eat the last of that or what? I don't really know. Wasn't a problem though. I asked him if he fucking had the last of it too. I wasn't accusatory either. Like, did you eat the last of the goddamn Cocoa Pebbles? I didn't do that. I was just like, hey, bro, did you eat the last of this? No? And he's like, and he does the same thing when he does the same fucking thing. He physically recoils, acts like he acts like, have you ever seen the bit with, Louis C.K. when he talks about the kid, discovering lying? He in the bit he talks about the kid eats takes the cookie from the cookie jar, and to a child, to a child, I can't say it, accusatory. That's not even a fucking word. The accusatory nature of like a parent or something like that. Did you take the cookie? Terrifying the kid, right? And the kid, this is when the kid discovers lying. No. Okay then, have a good day. It's a great bit. It's a great bit. That is exactly how Mr. X reacts to anything. When you're like, hey, did you do this? Hey, did you see that? Hey, did you grab that? Hey, did you get the last of this? Every single time, it's that physical. He recoils. No. It's like, bro. So I was like, okay. I never called him out on lying or anything like that. But one time, a little bit later, like I'd always wait. It's like, I'm going to bring this up a day later, not today. And there can't be any sort of conversation or incident associated with it. I'm just going to casually tell him, hey, bro, by the way, if there's something, you don't feel comfortable, saying to me or, asking me, rest assured, it's all good. I've never expressed anger or disappointment in you for, anything. It's totally not a problem. He's like, okay. And that didn't stop him from just constantly lying about everything. I don't know what, like I said, Asperger's. I'm not trying to make fun of him. It's just, he would like, and I don't really have any big complaints. That was literally the only thing that was mildly frustrating to me, because I had a fucking hard-on for, I think it was the Quaker O's, which I think they rebranded Honey O's. I still... It's my favorite! Mr. X, how could you do this to me? Oh my god! Yeah, so the bitch ate the last of my favorite cereal. And I was just wondering if he ate the last of it, or, if maybe Stacy did or something like that. I don't know why I even asked, to be honest. But yeah, it didn't really bother me. Just the fact that he lied about it bothered me, and the way he lied about it. It's like, there's literally no one else that could have done it. Things don't just disappear around my house. It's either me or my wife. And my wife doesn't fucking lie about that shit. Hell, my wife would fucking never touch the same food I do. She hates cereal. She hates milk. Just the fact that there's milk in it, I don't know, she's crazy bitch. She's missing out. She's missing out. Cereal is like cereal is like candy, snack food. It is the ultimate, like, fuck candy bars, fuck donuts, fuck bags of chips. Cereal, man. Whether you're a kid or an adult, man, it's so good. I want to have some. I'm going to have me a bowl of this shit when we're done. Anyway, let's move off of the fucking cereal thing. But yeah, he would lie about every little thing. Like I said, nothing's ever his fault. Even when it's not a problem. He didn't do it. And that became... I really had to take this approach with him, where I couldn't criticize him or confront him on anything. And that made it so, our relationship couldn't grow. It could have been a totally cool conversation if he was like, yeah, I ate the last of it. You fucking told me I could. I'd laugh and I'd be like, yeah, it's not a problem. It's all good. I'll just, when I go to the store and buy some more, what cereal do you want? I'll get some of that and shit. No, that conversation never happened. Anyway, I told him he could use the facilities, do whatever he want. Just stay out of me and Stacy's bedroom, because that's the room where, my wife keeps her panties and her dildos, and she gets naked, and just stay out of our room. That's it. Other than that, you could go into the game room. You could, boot up my console. You don't need to ask before you watch TV or go in the kitchen for anything. Just, Mikasa, Sukasa, or however the fuck it goes, because I don't speak whatever language that is. And for the first week or so, things were fine. That's the problem. Things were always fine. Nothing, like I said, he didn't steal from us. He didn't do anything creepy. He didn't fuck us over. Everything was just fine. And I thought, I wasn't doing this for nothing. I considered him a friend. I valued him, and I thought this could, 5 years later, I thought maybe you'd have an apartment or something up here in the Seattle area. And on weekends, I'd go over to his place, and I'd have some drinks with him, and we'd be playing over Xbox Live. Like, none of that shit happened. This could have advanced our relationship, and unfortunately, it did not. So, after a couple of weeks of awkwardness, then came the time where he was supposed to be getting his first paycheck. So he got here, and like I said, he works in the financial sector. He doesn't deal with people. He literally sits in a cubicle crunching numbers, and he doesn't have to deal with people. And he's very good at his job, apparently. He had opportunities lined up to him for him like that when he came here. He went on his first job interview the first day he was here, turned it down. But then, like 3 days later, he got a different one, and he was working there. But anyway, he was working in, I don't know what company. It was some startup. It was some credit union he was working for. There's like 1 million of them, and he was working in a high-rise in downtown Seattle. He sent me some pictures, showed me some pictures of him up there. He like went out on the balcony and shit, and was taking selfies and shit. Badass. Anyway. So, 2 weeks later, his first paycheck should be coming, right? Didn't show up. So now, he's been here for about 2 weeks, and he's got a week left before he's out on his ass. I was very clear with him exactly what was going to happen no matter what. Even in the worst case scenario, he will not and cannot be staying here. And I explained exactly why, and he pretended to get it. That comes into play in a little bit because obviously that 3-week time lapse happens. But at week 2, his first paycheck didn't come. And every day he was on the horn. He was talking to someone. He was talking to reporting it not going through. And talking to HR and talking to managers in person and wanting to know what the hell was going on. And he had to call home and have his parents wire him some more money, which they did begrudgingly. And I remember that day, like I drove him because he was strapped for cash. He didn't have enough money to fucking go. We went to Walmart. We went to fucking Walmart. I shit you not. He didn't have enough money to drive to Walmart and still have enough money for gas, to go to work. So I was like, I'll take it. It's cool. And so we went to Walmart, and we took my mom's boyfriend at the time, my mom, who was still alive at the time. He met my mother and everything. So it was straight up like him, me, and my mom's boyfriend. We all went up to Walmart and we're just shooting the shit. My mom, not my mom, but my mom's boyfriend and me, we were having a good time. We were fucking around and joking and talking and shit like that. Mr. X was like super solemn and pissed. He was mad at his mom and dad for something, I don't know. They were sending him the money. He waited in line and everything, and when he finally got the check, the cash, he got like the cashier's check or something and cashed it and he got the money. And it's like, bro, you just got fucking almost $1,000. Buck up, Chuck. You know, he was still mad at them. Totally spoiled. Totally spoiled rotten. Even if I was a spoiled rotten kid and I was mad at, you know, my parents or something like that, I would not be like talking shit with $1,000 in my hand. This cat was talking shit with $800 cash in his fucking hand. His mommy and daddy just gave him. When his mom and dad are taking care of his kids down in Texas. So I don't know, man. There was something off about this guy, right? Just an entitled baby. Like I said, Asperger's. I was eating Asperger's the other day. Made sure that shit was clean. Now I eat ass. You don't eat ass? The fuck's wrong with you? You gay? You gay? You don't eat butt? It's an Asperger's joke, for Christ's sake. You know, give me the opportunity. Give me this opportunity does not come very often. Let me take advantage of it. Check still didn't come, and week 3 was approaching. There's really no buildup or no other things going on here. Just around week 2, my manager started to get really weird with me. Really fucking weird. Almost like that. Almost like that. He started getting really weird with me in this situation. When's your friend going? When's your friend moving out? You know, it's been 2 weeks. And to be honest, we were quiet. He just used up a parking space of one of the free parking spaces he was allowed to, you know, use. And then my manager just started getting really weird, you know, around the 2-week mark. What are you doing? When's he leaving? It's like, bro, in a week. He's leaving in a week because it seems that his check didn't come and he now doesn't have the money to get an apartment, so it seems like he's probably going to time out. And then, you know, in 1 week's time, you know, I'm going to have to kick him out because, you know, that's the terms we set, you know. So that's great. That's great. He's going to be homeless and out on his ass and, you know, in about a week. So, you know, there's your answer, bro. Thanks for, you know, being so concerned. I didn't say you could stay here for 3 weeks. You literally did. You literally did, but, you know, I said, don't worry. You know, I gave him a day, too, to the date. I said, here's the day he came, 1 week, 2 weeks, here's the day he's leaving. And my manager was like, ah. He's this old European guy. I think he's from, not Albania, Austria. Anyway, so the day came, and like I said, this was the only incident, you know, altercation him and I ever had, is the day he had to leave. And I told him there's nothing I could do. Either option A, he leaves, or option B, we all get kicked out and he has to leave anyway. I said, look, I got, you know, got my wife, you know, I got my life here. I'm not just going to risk it all just to let you stay here a couple of days, you know? I said, you know, but I felt bad. I felt bad. So he was out, And I then introduced him to a couple of friends and family. When it was looking that he might not be able to get his first check and move into a new place by the end of the 3 weeks, I started going out of my way and introducing him to a couple of friends and family members in the hopes that they would be open to, this is kind of my hey, he's not an axe murderer. Could you, I know it's asking a lot, but, could you do me a solid, for my friend, let him at least, stay with you for, maybe a month or something like that. It didn't go very well with some people, but I finally introduced him to a friend of mine and a fellow weed enthusiast. I don't smoke weed. I mean, I do every once in a while, but maybe once, maybe twice a year. I'll blitz out, but, I'm not, it's not like a thing I do. This friend of mine, he is a giant fucking pothead. The two of them hit it off. I was a little jealous, but the two of them hit it off like fucking rice and beans, peas and carrots. It was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. I was getting in my car, I was taking off, and I was going home. My friend stayed there. He's like, I'm just gonna stay here and smoke some more weed and stuff like that. I'm like, cool. So they worked something out where he would stay with him. So this was about a week after, he had to leave my place. So in the interim for that week, he was staying with, he wasn't staying with anyone. He was sleeping in his car. My manager wouldn't allow the car to be, and rightfully so, I get it, but like my manager wouldn't allow him or the car back on the property. My manager got real fucking weird and shitty with this whole thing. And I found out the reason why. The reason why, and this one wasn't Mr. X's fault either. I know you're like, well, what did he do that you just found? He didn't do anything. Like I said, he wasn't a weirdo when it comes to at least that stuff. So my manager, he had gotten his check. And our stupid fucking mailman went to my manager, showed him the check, and was like, I don't recognize, who is this? My manager snatched that shit up because of squatters' rights here in Washington and everything. My manager snatched that shit up because I'm thinking, I didn't have this conversation with my manager, but I know where he was going with this. My manager snatched that shit up, told the mailman, don't deliver that here. If you get this, bring it to me. And the mailman, breaking federal law, and my manager, both breaking federal fucking law, handed him the checks. So my manager got the check, and he got the check that they remailed and the check that they remailed. It was like a couple months down the line, my manager handed me a stack of like fucking 9 undelivered checks after, Mr. X was gone and everything like that. Because he didn't want him to claim squatters' rights or something like that. And I told him, I said, bro, you fucking told me that he could stay here for 3 weeks. What do you think that meant? Where do you think the check was going to go? What do you think that meant? Him coming here and getting a job and getting his first check to move it. What do you think you did? What do you think that piece of mail was? It was his fucking check, you retard. Anyway. Yeah, so that was a thing, and that, compounded problems on top of everything else, but... So at this point, Mr. X is staying with my other friend. Now, it's not like this friend is in a similar situation to Mr. X was. He was staying there with his parents. He was living there with his mom and his grandmother in this house that he did not own. And he stayed home and smoked weed all day. Up here, I don't know if you knew, but up here, you don't just smoke the weed. We got weed stores, edibles, It's a whole thing. It's a whole enterprise in states that, have this shit legalized. And one of the things that they do, it's called dabbing. No, they basically take large amounts of weed, cook it down into like a sap, and then you burn the sap like a crack rock in a specialized dab tool. It's basically a sophisticated crack pipe, and then you smoke it like a crack. And it is several magnitudes stronger than weed. Because it's a whole bunch of it condensed into sap, and you just fucking take a hit like a fucking crack pipe. Wild fucking shit. So my friend, when I say he's addicted to weed, this is what I mean. Like, normal smoking doesn't do shit. He doesn't even do that anymore. He calls it weed, he calls it marijuana, but it's not. It's not. It's straight up fucking THC crack. Wild shit. Anyway, Mr. X never had that shit before. Texas. So, what do you think happened? It knocked him on his ass and he got addicted. And the two of them, that's all they fucking did. So he was staying there. My friend never got his Mr. X never got his apartment. He was staying there with them until he estranged them. Like I said, if he was just staying with a buddy of mine, things would have worked out just fine, because he was working and because this shit's expensive apparently, and especially when you're addicted to it, and you go through several rocks a day, like, yeah, that shit's probably going to get expensive. So Mr. X would go to work, and then his checks would go to just the the dab. And so that's the life they were living, and that's fine, I guess. But again, it's not his place. He was staying with his mom and his grandma in this nice house, and Mr. X would have to pay them rent. Not my friends, them rent. So, spending all your money on this shit, he didn't have enough money for rent, and just stopped paying them rent. So get a couple months into this thing, and he started getting estranged with the mom and the grandma. The grandma loved Mr. X like a son. It was really weird. Like, she really loved him. Like, she said that, her own words. Like, I really love him. He's like a son to me, and just enjoyed his company. And it's because he was kind of a... the two of them were very similar. If you didn't already know, if you couldn't already tell the way I'm talking about my friend, he's kind of, well, he's a almost 40-year-old lifelong drug user. He's been staying at home with his parents this whole time. When they get old and they pass away, he's probably going to go directly into a home or something like that. He can't take care of himself. Hasn't gone grocery shopping for himself in his life. Doesn't have a relationship. He's got some woman in Canada that he met in World of Warcraft. And it was very similar to my situation with my ex I talked about. Except he's still with her, and she got pregnant when they hooked up. And so they're both kind of... I'm trying not to be mean to my fucking friend and his woman or whatever, but like, they're both... if they don't got each other, they don't got no one else. Because ain't no one else is going to be there for them. So, Mr. X and my buddy, they're very similar. They're very childlike. They're do-nothings. Everything's always somebody else's fault. They're, they're a product of the system, and, they got along great. But, Mr. X didn't own him money. They owned his parents' money, which he was staying there. Eventually, they kicked him out. And, at that point of time, my relationship with Mr. X was pretty sparse. I wasn't seeing him all the time. I spotted him in his... Oh, I bit my fucking tongue there when I said spotted. I spotted him, like, out on the road. Just sitting in his car. And I don't know, man. I really don't know. I wanted to help him. I told him, you know, how I could help, what I could do. He just didn't do what he was supposed to do. He could have fucking paid these people rent. Like, the grandmother loved him like a son. My buddy was like his new best friend. But that just wasn't what he wanted to do. He wasted his opportunity and squandered the goodwill, you know. And what he did with me, I assume, is exactly what he did with his parents and his girlfriend back in Texas. And he did that with my buddy, a buddy who he hit it off with very well with. You know, they hit it off. They were like two peas in the pod. I looked at them. I was like, damn, I wish I had a best friend that I was best friends like that with. Because the two of them were just like peas and carrots. Just laughing over stupid shit, you know, eating junk food and getting high. And eventually Mr. X wasted all of his goodwill with me. Like, he asked to stay again later. I told him he couldn't. That was all he was interested in. He couldn't stay anymore back at... And the moment my buddy's parents kicked Mr. X out, the relationship between Mr. X and my buddy soured. All of us, you know, because he's my friend. They're a family friend. I don't just know, you know, my buddy. You know, I know his parents. I know his mom. I know his mom's boyfriend, the grandma. They're all very nice people. Me and Stacy, we actually go over there every once in a while and kind of see everyone. They're very old family friends of mine. The relationship between Mr. X and, you know, my buddy, you know, had soured as soon as he had left. So I guess they weren't getting along either. So Mr. X hadn't made a lot of friends or contacts here in, you know, the Seattle area. And he was talking to tons of chicks online, meeting up with the dude. I'm going to be straight with you guys. This guy is an old, bald, ugly, fat Mexican. But he gets the chicks. I am not kidding. Without any sarcasm, this dude gets pussy. And constantly has people that he's talking to sending him pictures. Like, he showed me them and shit like that. And he's like, I don't really like this one. I don't like what she said to me. This one, she could go fuck off. I hooked up with her. She was alright. Just constantly just getting pussy all the fucking time. I don't know what his deal is. I don't know what it is. This dude's game is on point. It's probably all that fucking, that Asperger's shit. All that manipulative shit. He fucking, like I said, he's charismatic. Like, over the phone and, like, in text and shit like that. But, like, in person, I don't know. So he probably, and women are more susceptible to that shit. So he gets all the pussy. So he moved and he eventually started staying with all these girlfriends. And then he started doing what he was doing down in Texas. He started having these relationships and quarantining them off from each other and lying and stuff like that. And I shit you not, I don't want to show the article because that'd be, you know, doxing him a little bit. But straight up down in, I think it was Olympia, he was staying with some chick in a trailer park down in Olympia, and the whole fucking thing burned down. And you could see him on the news. Like, there was a news segment. Like, I looked it up online and everything, and there he fucking was. Fucking kid with his hand in the cookie jar. Next to his girlfriend he was staying with or something like that before their place burned down. Man. Okay, so the obvious question here is, did he do it? I don't know. I don't think so. He hasn't shown any violent tendencies, but he is a weirdo. He does have social problems. He's very vindictive. He would say some horrible shit about his ex, the one he has kids with, and his parents. It's like, oh my god, dude, those are your parents. Sending them $800. Nothing but vitriol for his parents. I don't know, man. If he gets mad enough. There was a shooting here on the highway in between my house and my family friend's house. The family that let him stay there for a couple months. There was a shooting on the highway. Apparently, someone was taking pot shots at cars going by there, in between there, and it came up in conversation because that's the highway I take to go there. It came up in conversation, and we were both like, "Is that Mr. X? Could we were both thinking it. I think I said something first. I was like, "Hey, you know about the shooter on the?" And they're like, "Yeah." I said it first, and as soon as I did, they're like, "I was thinking the same thing. What if it's Mr. X?" So all these red flags and everything, they're there. They're there, and I never quite felt... Like I said, he never actually did anything. He never actually did anything. Although I will say this, though. I'm talking about years ago. This happened years ago. Apparently, he had eventually left to went home back to Texas! My fucking throat is fucking dry as fuck. He eventually went back home to see his kids and everything. Wish him the best of luck. But, he had another incident down there. I guess he tried to make it work with his ex, and it didn't. Surprise, surprise. And he came back up here again. When he came back up here a second time, I didn't even know he was up here. I learned he was up here after a month he was up here. And I actually saw him at my buddy's house. I was over there visiting the family and everything, and I was over there, and there was Mr. X. I was like, oh, damn, I didn't know you were back up here again. I thought you went back to Texas. He got all awkward with me and everything. But that was the last time I saw him. I said, "You look good." I shook his hand and, everything. I learned he was staying with some chick up here. He was still in contact with a bunch of chicks. And he came back up here to stay with them. The same way he came up here to stay with me. And, yeah. He had left to go back to Texas a third time. And he was up here a third time just recently, just in this past year. And this time, however, I got a story for you. This time, I was not privy to any of this. I was not there. I did not see any of it. I hadn't seen... Like I said, the last time I had seen Mr. X was when he was living... When I visited my family friends and he was up there. That was the last time I had actually seen him. This past time he was up here, though, last year. So, Mr. X and my buddy got an apartment together. So, my buddy's parents threw my buddy out. He had graduated from smoking the dabs to doing some more hard stuff, like meth. And he had lost his mind. He was, like, tearing the house down and shit. And he had to fucking go. They kicked him out, and my buddy, he got an apartment. So the three of them were sharing an apartment. My buddy got an apartment with one of his friends, and Mr. X came along and was the third member of the fucking Three Stooges, and the three of them were at some apartment doing drugs and fucking chicks and shit like that. And my friend, who had some girl, he had a girlfriend, and she would come up there. Straight up, my friend would pass out. Okay, so I got like a lot of friends. My local friend, the family friend, the son of my family friend, he would get high and pass out, and then his girlfriend would fuck Mr. X and the other roommate. This is not the first time or the second time this had happened. This friend I'm speaking of, this video isn't about this other friend. Maybe I'll do a video on that, but This is like the third time my friend has got a girlfriend, and then all of his friends sleep with the girlfriend. And it's always, oh, I had no idea. He gets these nasty crack whore girlfriends every time. He can't get a girlfriend that isn't a crack whore. They're straight up using him for drugs. And there's always a story about him passing out and she's fucking or blowing the roommates all the fucking time. He had this one girlfriend that was doing that. He straight up would pass out, and then she would go downstairs and fuck the neighbors. Then he had another girlfriend who went on a camping trip with all of her friends. And when I say all of her friends, I mean all of his friends. Friends. Never me. I've never been part of this. I've never fucked a fucking a friend's girlfriend. You know, I'm not that type of homie. You know, but all these drug addicts, they're always passing people around. It's gross. And then with this fucking new one, he was super excited about her and everything. Fucking, he would go to work, and then she would come over when he wasn't home. This guy is fucking dumb. Come on, man. Come on. But anyway, Mr. X had him a piece. And then he found out, and then the two of them fought. Someone drew a knife. And then my friend slashed Mr. X's tires. And then the girlfriend that was two-timing him fucking called and got him fired from work. Man, this was the world I used to live in back in the day. I have graduated. I don't fuck with any of that shit anymore. For obvious reasons. But that is the last I've heard of Mr. X. He got into some sort of knife fight with my friend and got his tires slashed, and apparently he's still up here in the Seattle, Washington area somewhere. Sleeping with someone, not paying rent, something like that. Yeah. So that was the time I met someone in real life over the internet. I really did care about him, and I really did consider him a friend. And then just slowly over time, after he had come down here and I had met him in person, that relationship changed. And I feel like it wasn't, my fault. Maybe it was my fault. Maybe I didn't see the red flags. I mean, I didn't. But maybe these red flags were actually red flags, and maybe they were just stupid things in hindsight. Maybe I'm seeing ghosts and shadows. I don't know. There were a couple of things that maybe, I think it's like, did I do anything wrong? So, am I the reason why he, blew me off so hard? I think what it was is he realized he couldn't fucking squeeze me for sympathy or money or drugs or something. And so he just blew me off. He's like, well, I could hang out here with you, or I could hang out with, this drug addict who will, fucking give me free fucking weed, and his parents who will let me stay with them free of charge, and, let me, fuck his girlfriend when he's passed out, Maybe that's all it fucking was. But, for what it's worth, I had a really good time with him, online, like in the IGN days. If you didn't already know, IGN is a internet forum. IGN is a video game website, a video game, pop culture, comic book, and movie website. It's a tech site, and they have a forum within the website. That's what I'm talking about when I say IGN. But back in the day, he was a cool character, a lot of cool conversations. I remember we would issue out homework to each other, like in the whole in our group. We would take turns. And when it was your turn, you would issue out a video game and an album that you wanted the rest to play. And we'd have to do it. Of course, there was a few people who just, didn't participate. But like a good portion of us, we would go out of our way and buy some obscure game that we've never played before and play it. or, you know, download and listen to an album of their favorite, you know, rock song or something like that. And, you know, it was really cool shit. He always had really cool albums to listen to. I don't remember that. I could have told you a couple of years ago, but I don't remember the name of it now. There's like this grassroots, like Latino hard rock grunge group that that he really likes, and you know, he showed me some of their music. It was pretty cool. Like, it was fucking cool. We were doing some cool things, having some cool conversations, and it would have been nice if it stayed like that. You know, it would have been nice if, you know, we could have done that, you know, in real life, but in real life, he turned out to be this complete fucking weirdo. Honestly, he was just boring. He was just boring. He didn't talk about anything. He didn't want to do anything. All he wanted to do was just smoke weed and have someone take care of him. You know, I was looking for an equal, and I didn't find one. So that completes the story of Mr. X. Next time on Turbo Time, storytelling with Turbo. I'll try to upload this one. I don't think I doxed anyone or gave away too much personal information about friends or family or anything like that. It is a bit longer than my last video, though, but story time with Turbo. Next, I got so many stories. There's one story. I have a friend, and he's an actual friend. I love the man. I love him. He is a friend of mine. I have so many weird, wild, and crazy stories involving him. So many. And I desperately, desperately want to tell them. But I can't bring myself to doing it because not a lot of them show him in a great light. And it would just be a compilation of me just taking a massive dump on my friend. And I don't want to do that because that would be shitty. I've even asked him, like, hey, could I share some of these stories? And he's like, yeah, cool, man, sure. But even with permission, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do that. Maybe I'll share, I don't know, so many good ones. So many good ones. Anyway, I got all sorts of stories to share. Stories about my mother, involving her passing. I think I posted that one where I found her crazy fucking note after she had died with like instructions and shit. Blew my mind. That was a pretty good story. I got a ton of them, man. I got a ton of them. Crazy fucking people I've met throughout my life, and Mr. X is one of them. I will catch you guys later, man. Peace the fuck on out.